no, it's thinking about it. There we go.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching this evening. I am proud to introduce our two speakers this evening. Matthew Robi is the founder of the Robi Report, which is a sports journalism site founded to provide authentic news to sports fans everywhere. He also reports on sports for the Daily of the University of Washington and is currently a senior, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Joel Cohen was born and raised in Calgary, Canada, in addition to writing several films, 2 books, and complaints to newspapers about inaccurate horoscopes. He's been a writer, producer on The Simpsons for the last 21 years. Joel has won 3 Emmy Awards, 3 Writers Guild Awards, and one time, a glass donkey in a game of bingo. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Matthew.
All right, thank you. It's hard to hear you over the applause.
So let's start with something easy. Childhood. What was that like?
Assuming I had one. Yeah. Wow. I was younger.
Yeah.
Struggled with bedwetting, still do. As I think we all do, am I right, people? No, I grew up in Canada, very lovely childhood, cold, boring city. And was not lucky, but I managed to eventually move. I grew up in Calgary and then went to University of Edmonton, which I don't recommend to anyone. And moved to Toronto, which I guess I recommend to people. This has turned into a lot of recommendations. And then moved to LA. I live in LA now. So childhood was good. I have no complaints. How was your childhood?
My childhood was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not what I heard.
So in the beginning of the book, you and Dan spoke about, or Dan speaks about him asking Adam Sandler to write forward for the book. And in a super funny way, he confesses that neither him or Adam knew what the forward should look like.
Yes.
And instead, Adam wrote this introduction where he basically just talked about how he fell in love with football and became the masochist that Jets fan is today.
Right.
So, with that being said, how did you guys think about what inspired you to go that direction of this like a comedic and informative style of writing?
Well, there's so much I'm not saying boring, so much serious stuff. You said boring, I think. So much serious stuff about the NFL out there, and there's no shortage of people that have looked at the history of the NFL and every team and all the analyzed great plays. And what I like about Dan so much is that he sort of tries to have fun with his sports reporting and is maybe what a competition this is, but is the funniest sports reporter.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like we want to do something that's kind of fun and lighthearted, and it does have a lot of actual information in the book, but also really tries to have a fun angle in presenting it all or in retelling of it all.
Okay. So how did you and Dan actually first meet?
Bumble. Dan and I, this is a little bit of breaking news for the live stream. But I work on The Simpsons. That's not the breaking news. It's breaking news to people that work on The Simpsons. But I wrote an episode of The Simpsons and I reached out to Dan to get him to be a voice. And he was super cool about it and agreed to do it. The episode's coming out in like November or December. And Dan plays a sort of himself, sportscaster, narrating a rock skipping contest that Homer is cheating at. So anyhow, we just kind of met through that, and then I've been a fan of his forever and been listening to his daily radio show and podcast and stuff forever. And then just started talking about football, and he had some funny ideas, I had some funny ideas, and we thought, hey, maybe this is a book. And it sort of maybe turned out to be one. Yeah, exactly. No, he's super cool and friendly and funny.
Awesome. Okay. So with now the book finally being out there, what are your personal goals for this book?
A lot of returns.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I hope people pick it up and read it. We were just talking with our massive audience earlier about it's a great gift book. For anyone that's a fan of football or even just a casual fan of football, I think it's a very fun read that touches on a lot of things you knew and a lot of things you never knew, and then also makes up stuff that, of course, you didn't know because it's made up. But it's just a fun, light way to talk about a game that we love, but is full of flaws as well. So I would just love fans to find it and enjoy it. And of course, I'd like it to be successful, but part of that success is just people reading it and enjoying it.
For sure.
3 for sure, because that's good.
I love it. How did your extensive work experience affect your decision making and crafting occasionally accurate annals of football? In other words, are there things you took from working with The Simpsons that helped you make the book?
Well, the biggest thing is one of the things you mentioned Adam Sandler in the book, but I also, because I'm lazy, reached out to a bunch of friends and said, hey, would you write a little bit for it as well? So there's about 10 contributions in it, a lot from Simpson fans. She's locking the door so people can't get out. No, from Simpson fans, or from Simpson writers, and like Saturday Night Live writers, Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, Late Night with Letterman, Andy Richter, who's like the sidekick on the Cohen O'Brien show, wrote a chapter. So that was the first thing, is that I was just able to tap into this network of Simpson writers and abuse them and use them and exploit them to write stuff, which they did, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And then also just, I've written forever, but when you write on a TV show like The Simpsons, it's great, but it's very collaborative. It's like, 10, 15 people working together at the same time. And the beauty of this was that it was just me and Dan, which is a lot of work, but it's also freeing because you don't have to deal with 8 other idiots. Dan just had to deal with 1 idiot. So yeah, it was just very nice to just write something without having to kind of pass it through a committee. And then the committee was just like the editor. But that was I didn't know if I drew something from my Simpson experience, but it's the benefits of sort of having worked on a Simpson I can recognize it though.
For sure.
Long answer.
I like that.
I'm proud of it though. Second page, guys.
Oh, that's actually the third.
Oh my God. Nervous.
So this book discusses things like the best trash talk, the worst trash talk, nepotism,
Yes.
but it also talks about ways to improve the rules book, refereeing the very existence of football itself, and
Right.
how it came to be. What were some of your favorite things that you learned on the book? Because there's so many just fun facts, just boom, 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 just like punchlines.
I didn't know the history of the NFL, to be quite honest, and it's such an idiotic, crazy history that it was literally founded in the showroom of an auto dealership in like 1920, and even like all the rivals that have tried to approach the league. I mean, I knew about some. We all know about the USFL and maybe the XFL, but there's like another version of the USFL and even the Arena Football League and these other leagues that started and failed. So just like the history of the league was all kind of new to me. And then learning about how each team and when each team came into the league and like, did you know what a Packer was? I mean, I wrote the book and I still don't know what a Packer is. I wrote the chapter, but no, I mean like learning what a Packer is and a Charger and these idiotic names that we just take as gospel because we've cheered for them, against them, or whatever. But just understanding the teams, how they came to be. Another chapter, again, we all think we know a little bit about the draft and the combine and stuff, but I had to research all the specific tests that are part of the combine. And even like who set the record at the broad jump or, the weightlifting thing. And it's just fascinating. All that stuff was really interesting to me. And the last part of what is, I'd say, a medium to long answer. Yeah, I see you glazing over. I heard snoring in the middle of that. But also just the path that it takes and the gauntlet of if you want to be a football player from the minute you start playing at even as young as 3 years old and the levels you have to go through and exceed at and succeed at, to actually make the NFL, and the odds of someone that starts playing football of actually making the league are like worse than being hit by lightning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And it's safer to be hit by lightning than playing NFL.
Long term, probably.
Long term, exactly.
Did Dan's 12-year-old really take his Amex and spend $6 grand on crypto?
I assume he did. There's no way to assume otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess so.
Yeah. I think all 6-year-olds have.
Yeah.
That's the basis of the crypto market. It's
Only
only 6-year-olds with Amexes. And propping it up and making up names like Dogecoin, etc.
Yeah.
Name a 6-year-old or Elon Musk would make up.
For this part of the interview, I'm going to say a name or thing. I want you to immediately say the first thing that comes to your mind or finish the sentence.
Bad idea. Oh, we haven't started yet. Okay, sorry.
Mark Sanchez.
I would say the franchise. The franchise, isn't that what they called him? The Sanchez? Come on, wasn't that what they called him when he got drafted?
Yeah.
But then, of course, we're going to go to the butt fumble. But there's a lot about the butt fumble in this book.
There is. I'm going to go on about that.
Okay, good. I look forward to that. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm not leaving is I want to hear the butt fumble stuff.
I hear that.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys.
I like to make fun of Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is very fond of himself, so I thought this book was a good way to kind of hit Jerry Jones a little bit with some subtle insults.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I don't see him here tonight, but yeah. No, he could be. I don't know. It's a thick crowd.
He's
on his way.
Yeah, he texted.
Fashionably late.
I heard him rattling the doors.
Michael Crabtree.
Nothing. How about
Nothing?
that?
Okay, I'll take it.
Wow.
Skittles.
You got it. Skittles?
Skittles.
Wow.
Seattle.
Eat the rainbow?
Seattle.
What, Seattle Skittles? There's some Skittles.
Marshawn.
Oh, Marshawn? Well, Marshawn, I think more of, I talk about it here, beast mode, of course,
Beast
right?
mode.
But then he has, as is in the book, his own line of pot, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
what's the Skittles connection?
Yeah, that's little Skittles commercial. He
Oh.
was a sponsor for
All right.
a big time. But Patrick Mahomes' voice.
Patrick Mahomes' voice?
Yeah, have you heard it?
Of course I've heard it, yeah. He's the star of State Farm commercials, right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with his voice? Is some problem with his voice I don't know about?
It's all over social media. People are saying comes like Kermit the Frog and also
Really?
mean things like that.
There's a lot of mean stuff about his wife as well. But
There is, and his brother, but we're not going to get into
No, let's
that.
get into it. I saw it. Yeah. I don't know. His brother's like a huge social media guy, right?
He is,
Yeah.
He's like a
But,
TikTok guy.
like huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Patrick Mahomes. I'm willing to look without knowing anything about it. I'd like to make fun of both his wife and brother. Put that on record.
Okay, when I say Malcolm Butler, what do you think of?
Wow. There's Malcolm Butler. Well, what is it? The catch and the snatch. Is that what it is?
Yes,
Sure. People in Seattle love Malcolm Butler, right?
We hate him.
No, really? What a shock.
We really do.
Why?
That's the real hatred.
Why?
I swear.
Yeah.
This is university's
I know,
20th
exactly.
page. Don't mind me.
Those are just algebra notes.
This is a right diagram theorem.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Is that
Oh
it?
yeah, it is.
Wow.
In the book, there's a section called the 5-step plan to fix the Jets.
Yes.
And in here, there's a direct quote from the book. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
On draft day, Jets management needs to remember the very simple mantra. Your every thought is incompetent. And then you go on to completely and utterly bully and harass the New York Jets franchise in
Yes.
the funniest ways imaginable.
Good.
Talking poems, haikus,
Yes.
and the obvious truths that come with being an astronomical failure of a franchise.
Yes.
With that being said, the Jets have made some huge offseason changes in addition.
Yeah. This book could seem so. It seems so intelligent now. It seems so stupid in like a week. Right?
Yeah, right?
When they win all these games.
With Aaron Rodgers and
Okay.
Cook.
Garrett Wilson,
So will
etc.
the MetLife Stadium be getting an apology from you, Dan? If they
No, I'm doubling down.
doubling
Even
down,
if they win the Super Bowl, I'm
He's
doubling
doubling
down.
down?
Yeah. Totally.
even a minute of playoffs.
There's an argument in this book, as we all know, or some of us know, they won the Super Bowl in 1969. Right?
Yes.
And I argue in the book that they are a franchise dedicated to failure, and then winning the Super Bowl was the ultimate failure, that they couldn't even achieve their goal of being horrible, and they slipped up and won the Super Bowl. So I'm going to pre-argue,
Okay.
that's right, live stream, pre-argue, try to make eye contact with the audience, that if they win the Super Bowl, which I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they could, then that's another failure on the Jets' behalf.
Okay.
Second biggest failure.
Second.
See?
Second.
Back to the notes.
No,
Yeah.
Wait for it.
I can't.
I have hope. You have hope.
No,
Wait, no. Okay.
hope dies.
Hope dies. We all
Yeah.
die.
Yeah. That's part of the limerick about the butt fumble, I think, is that hope dies alone. It's part of the Jets limerick.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, haiku, pardon. Haiku.
Ah.
Yeah.
So this writer's strike, over
Yes.
90%.
What?
Yeah.
There's a writer's strike? Okay,
There's
go
a
on,
writer's strike.
yeah.
You're familiar. Over 90%.
I'm with the studios. They seem like they're right.
You support them?
Giant multinational corporations usually do the right thing, don't they?
AI is the future.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I wish AI was around when this book was being written. That's so much easier.
What you do?
Yeah.
So 90% of the writers Guild of America agreeing on the strike,
Mhm.
and it's not been over 120 days since the
Yes.
strike has began.
25 or something today, maybe?
Yeah, I was hoping to spend some time explaining the purpose of the strike and if there is an end in sight, I think.
Good question. First of all, so congratulations to you. You're welcome.
You're
The strike is a bummer, obviously. I've been a writer, professional writer in these states for 25 years, my second strike. But this one feels like different, and I'll say people that have been in 3, 4, 5 strikes all say this one's different because this strike at the heart of it is kind of, if we don't make serious gains, it's going to erase sort of the potential of being a writer as a legitimate career that people can sustain and work at and employ themselves. And when I say that, I don't mean like there are actors, there are writers that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars, like Ryan Murphy, Shonda Rhimes, and they deserve every penny of it. But like actors, of course, we all know the Brad Pitts, the Meryl Streeps, but the majority of actors and writers are people that are just often scraping by or not even scraping by. Like, it's a very hard career to get, and it's a harder career to sustain, and that's what the strike is about. Stuff like trying to ensure that they're not just hiring writers for, say, 5 weeks and then firing them and just having one writer finish the whole show, the whole series. trying to make sure residuals, which are the payments you get when an episode you write reruns, trying to ensure that those don't disappear with streaming as they have with streaming. People have worked, for example, I don't know all on the board, but people have worked on the show Suits, which is one of those highly streamed shows. There's a million articles about how Suits is being streamed like crazy on Netflix, and I think it's Netflix, whatever. And people are showing the residual checks. They're getting $27. And the point of residuals is that it's very hard to get jobs. And if you have a stream of some sort of residuals, it gives you like a baseline that you can rely on to support yourself while you're looking for the next job. But if that disappears, people are not going to be able to get the next job, and they're going to be, doing gig work like Uber or whatever, pizza delivery, or God forbid, being porters. But anyhow, so the strike is about ensuring stuff like that. And then writing remains a profession. And I believe that the studios believe that it needs to be a profession and there needs to be a community of writers. But in trying to sort of prop up their own bottom lines, they're stripping away all these things that are taking away the art. So that's a broad view of what the issues are.
Yeah.
And that said, it's 4 months now, 125 days, as we said, and I think I'm optimistic that an end is sort of near. I'm going to say it's over by October 1st.
October 1st.
And I'm not going to be here by October 1st, so what do I care about making predictions? But yeah, I think the end is sort of near, because it has to be. A little bit on the writer's side, but more so 4 months of no new product being made for TV means there'll be no shows on network TV in January. Netflix will run out of shows. There'll be no movies or very few movies next year. And if there's ever going to be an entertainment industry, everyone needs to kind of get back to work. And actors too, by the way.
Yeah.
We're just talking about writers, but the actors, hopefully they settle with the writers first, and then the actors very quickly after.
Yeah.
Good, long answer, but a good one, don't you think? 5 out of 10? 8 out of 10?
Good.
Oh,
Eight.
she just nods. She never uses it.
So what specifically would have to happen for the networks and the writers to come to an agreement?
Well, good things have sort of happened where the studios did make an offer, I believe, on August 11th that they were quite proud of, but it was sort of pushed back as, look, no one's recognizing that this is not a step forward, but it is not anywhere near a significant step forward, and there's a lot of loopholes and problems with they take a step forward and 2 steps back. But it was positive that they at least were willing to make some change and some movement on a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
And I think it's in their court again that they need to come back with a revised offer that shows that they seriously want to end this, because the truth is everybody wants to be back at work, but we can't do anything on our side. They have to start the ball rolling. The only thing that we can do is say, well, take your terms, which is not the best way to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. If you see me driving your Uber, you'll know how this story ends.
Terribly.
Yeah, terribly for both of us, because I'm not a good driver. Yeah, and you aren't going to tip, so it's bad for me also, right?
I'll tip.
No, you.
I won't tip. I never
Oh,
tip.
yeah, we know that. That's how we found you.
So you're a Seahawks fan.
I'm a recovering Seahawks fan.
Recovering Seahawks fan. What does that mean?
Well, as mentioned earlier, I think I was sort of blacked out earlier, but I grew up in Calgary, and the only TV we would get would be Washington State TV. So that's a Spokane TV. Is KREM, KREM, is that a Spokane station, Seattle station? All right, we used to get this TV station called KREM, and they would show Seahawks games.
Yeah.
And I was saying as a kid, excuse me, it's very emotional. As a kid, we'd get the Seahawks games, and they had these players like Steve Largent, Jim Zorn. We talked about Chuck. Noel Knox. Anyhow, and they were so bad, they just read trick plays. And as you're a kid, you just love trick plays, right? So they would always do fake punts, fake kicks, whatever, crazy long bombs. So I became a crazy Seahawks fan. I love the Seahawks my entire life until I hit fantasy football, where once you hit fantasy football, your loyalty gets divided on 1,000 different players and 1,000 different teams, and you don't root for a team anymore, just an individual player. So now I still would love the Seahawks to win, but I would like to win before they do.
Wow.
So there's a way we can win
That's
together. Of whom? Of the Celtics?
Of
Seahawks or me?
Oh, you.
I don't think so. I think the Seahawks would want me to win before them as well.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's it. So I love the Seahawks, but I love myself a lot. And sometimes I have $20 invested, and that's more important than any loyalty. That's a lesson for the kids watching at home.
Valid.
Yeah, money over friends. Yes.
So, who's your favorite Seahawks player of all time?
I'm going to say Jim Zorn, I guess, because just the memories of Steve Largent, of course, was great. Like, great receiver. Like I think he was a short guy and guy that you wouldn't expect to be a great receiver, but I'm not if I'm not saying he's in the Hall of Fame maybe. So I'm gonna say, but Steve Largent or probably Jim Zorn was just like this quarterback who was never really great, but in my eyes as a kid, just has such an affinity with your kid that you see someone that's great. So I would go with Jim.
Okay.
Who's your favorite Seahawks player of all time?
Marshawn.
Really? He's pretty great.
He's awesome
Yeah.
and funny. He's very funny.
What about when he played for the Raiders? Did that bother you?
I don't remember his outside.
I'm reminded.
Never
He played
happened.
for the Raiders. No, he played for the Raiders.
Why are you lying? It's never
Do you have
happened.
a phone? You can.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wikipedia
Do you have
or
Google? Do
something?
you have access to Google? Yeah, no, he's great, right? He's such a funny guy. Yeah, like I love him on podcasts and interviews and everything, but he's not going to make it to my favorite player list.
Top 5?
No, just to spite you, no.
Top 10.
No,
Top 10.
no, bottom 10.
Oh my god. Next
Bring
question.
it, Marshawn. You know where to find me.
What are your feelings towards Pete Carroll?
Well, mixed emotions.
Okay.
Bad and bad. Are those mixed?
Oh my god.
No, I don't hate Pete Carroll. I live in LA. He was USC coach, obviously, and much success, huge success at Seattle. Why do people hate Pete Carroll? How about that?
Because of one decision, they didn't run the ball.
Well, that was it on that play. Malcolm Butler, back to Malcolm Butler again.
Exactly.
But now people still hate Pete Carroll today?
It was end of an era, yes.
Really?
Yes. I remember I went to California once. and
Yes,
was
I remember when you
thinking
came.
about us. You remember, right?
Yeah,
You were
totally.
there, yeah.
I signed
knew
you
for a
in.
long time.
I signed you in, yeah.
And as I was this bus driver, he had a speakerphone. And in front of everyone, because my dad told from Seattle, he goes, Pete Carroll sucks. And I just remember
bus
thinking,
driver in LA?
yes, I just remember
Really?
thinking, I was like 15 cents, I'm like, that sucks that thing holds over my head, I
Wow.
never forgave him.
But I can't believe people still hate Pete Carroll to this
Really?
day.
Yeah, people hate him.
Really?
What were your feelings for him after Super Bowl 49?
I mean, it was a bad decision, right? I like to hate Russell Wilson. Is what I like to do.
Oh,
I like to go
that
to-
was the next question.
Oh, good. I think I hate Russell Wilson, and I was so happy this last year when he sucked, right? Because it was just like it felt like a vindication of hating him early, right?
Did you consider it a betrayal?
What do you mean? Him leaving?
Hey, yeah, the man betrayed.
No, not really. I mean, I don't know. Seahawks kind of were stinking it up a little bit, right?
I know.
He wanted to win, but then you like when the guy that is like the problem,
Uh-huh.
and then he sucks.
Exactly.
Right? So you
And
think,
then
oh,
Weekend
you suck.
Gino was
Yeah,
awesome.
Gino's great, right?
Yeah.
I like Gino.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he feels like a stopgap, right? He's not going to be around in 2 years. Don't you think?
Yeah, he's up there in age too. He started to it.
Yeah. That guy's had a weird career too, right? Former Jet.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Didn't Gino, I think, is in the book, or maybe it got cut out of the book. He got punched in the jaw in the locker room in a practice. Do you remember that? Like, I think it was Gino, and he broke his. There was something about look it up, Jets fans, as if there are any. But there was like some event where, some event where I think there was like an argument over $100 in the locker room at training camp, and some linebacker punched Gino in the jaw, broke his jaw, and he was out for like 8 games because of this idiotic event. Look it up. You're not listening. Look it up. Well, I'm not. One of us is going to look it up. It's not going to be me. Anyhow, so I like Gino. He's had a weird career. Good for him. He's starting and doing well, right?
Okay. You think Wilson's failure in the Broncos with the Denver Broncos is his fault, or is that?
Well, we're going to find out with Sean Payton, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a great coach. He's maybe a little bit of a jerk. What do you think, Sean Payton?
He's demanding.
He's demanding, but he's got some, dark
winner
stuff in his
intended.
past, right? Bounty Gate, was that him?
I'm not familiar.
He got suspended for it. I think he was giving his players bounties if they would hit a player on the other team. And I think he got suspended for like a game or two. Again, look it up. I didn't look up anything in the book. So the way you do it is you write a book and then have readers look it up afterwards.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what I'm doing now. But anyhow, he's a great coach. He's a great coach of Super Bowl winner, right?
Yes.
But now if he can make Russell Wilson a winner, no one can. I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna?
No.
Okay. He's hoping on it.
No, we'll tell him. If he's watching the live stream, he's going to see his going to
Mr.
be
Wilson, you suck.
Sierra? What's his name? Sierra?
Sarah Wilson.
Sierra Wilson.
She's beautiful.
That's not what tonight's about.
DK Metcalf, is he human or is he a robot? His body just looks like
He's amazing. That guy's amazing,
It
right?
doesn't make sense.
I love the pacifier that he's got.
Right?
That's the coolest.
He's
He's great.
You know, are you familiar with his diets?
No. Are you?
Yeah, apparently
Wow.
he eats 5 bags of candy.
Oh, that's right. I did know that.
One
He's all
coffee
for candy.
for like his almost his first half of his day.
Really?
Yeah.
That is just like a
Imagine
commitment to constipation.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Just
it
candy.
worked.
Lamar Odom was a big candy guy too.
Was he?
Look how that ended.
Terrible.
Married a Kardashian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what DK's got in store for him.
Kardashian.
Yeah, Kardashian. There's probably one available.
Kardashian.
There's always one available.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I don't know. No, I like DK. He's amazing, right? We were talking about Tyler Lockett's also amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
All right.
So let's talk more, go back to the writer's strike
Okay.
in terms of, I guess his network is thinking like AI can just kind of take over, but it's pretty much your role. So like, do you think there should be a balance in that? Do you think most writers are kind of neutral there, or do you think just AI should be eliminated from the matter completely?
That's a good question. I'll start with the story while I think of my answer. I was on the picket line, let's say 2 weeks ago with a guy, and I'd never met him, but you started talking to people on the picket line. He was the writer for a game show, which I can't remember the name of, but Jay Leno was the host.
Yeah.
And the guy told me that in February, so the strike didn't start until May 1st.
Yeah.
But in February, the network, which was Fox, went to him and said, we want you to fire all the writers because AI can rate the questions. And the guy was like, I don't want to fire the writers. That's ridiculous. AI can't write the questions. But just to test it out, he had AI write the questions, and they could do a crappy job, but they could do the lowest level talent job. But this guy also used to work on Jeopardy, was the head writer on Jeopardy, and the questions are written on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
That's why there's no new Jeopardy right now, if you guys are watching Jeopardy. Ken Jennings, local guy, right? Seattle guy. But anyhow, because the questions are written by writers, so the writers don't strike, so they're not doing new episodes of Jeopardy. But he had AI write the questions for Jeopardy, and he also said they were kind of crappy, but you could see that it was getting better and better and better to the point it could do it.
Okay.
Anyhow, Jay Leno in that example stood up to the network and said, we're not doing that, we're not firing the writers. But where I think AI can serve a purpose, a negative purpose to writers, is it can do the lowest level work, and then a professional writer, of which I'm not one, could then come in and like clean stuff up on stuff like questions for a game show. I think it's a lot harder for like a movie or something where you want a real emotional arc, and the big difference, and it sounds like a small thing, but it's a huge thing, is nuance. Because it can write, like it can scan every Simpsons episode. There's 765 Simpsons episodes, and it could kind of learn the algorithm for a Simpsons episode, and it could write a Simpsons script, but it would be a little bit repetitive, right? Because it's basing it on all the stuff that went into it. And then the difference between a mediocre or bad and good one would be the nuance that human would apply of making jokes funny and clever and different. So AI can do like the bottom grunt work of anything, but I don't think there's ever a scenario where AI can actually like take something from start to finish, and that's a problem. The last thing I'll say about AI is like in that bad Simpsons example that I gave, AI only works by drawing in all this information, like all these Simpsons episodes. So I've written 36 Simpsons episodes. So if AI is writing a Simpsons episode, but by consuming 760, but 36 of them I wrote, should I get compensated for the 36 that I wrote that AI is now building the next thing off of? And there's an argument to be had with that as well.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say about AI, even though I promised the other thing, is that the studios I've heard recently want there not to be AI because I think the Supreme Court has ruled that unless a human has touched a creation, it cannot be copyrighted. So if AI creates something, you can't put copyright on it. And the studios, of course, want everything they make to have copyright because that's where the revenue comes in and reboots and rehashes, et cetera, and franchises. So they actually are kind of reversing their position on AI, saying we want humans involved because that's the only way we can put a copyright. So there's going to be some crazy Supreme Court cases in the future about like that example. If AI stole something of mine and created something new, do I get compensation for it when the new thing gets monetized?
Yeah.
So that's a book I'm never going to read. But anyway, it's a real fascinating time. But
For sure.
I think AI is has a purpose, but it's not by any means the answer to what people want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge in the music world right now as well.
Yeah.
Same problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I originally was going to get AI to interview,
Oh yeah.
but you were cheaper.
I was.
Yeah, which was
I
surprising.
couldn't copyright it also.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem.
So, did you always know you wanted to be a comedy writer, or where did that come from?
I have a whole life before that. I have an MBA, zoology degree. Fascinating man.
Very
And then I worked in the business world for like 7 years and ran a sales division for this home video company, and then worked for CNN for a while. And then I just really realized that I wanted to try something different, and I wanted to try being a writer. And my brother's a writer, and I sort of saw what was involved in doing that. So I just started trying, and then I think I knew that if I had any aptitude, which I don't know that I do, but if I had any, it was as a comedy writer. So that's sort of what I pursued, and was lucky enough to kind of fall into this currently job with The Simpsons, which I've had for 23 years.
How'd you get started at The Simpsons?
Well, back again when I was trying to get started, just like you do anything, you network and try to get any connection you can. And you know Kathy Griffin, you know who that is, the comedian.
Not gonna lie.
And you're not going to lie and say what?
Say that.
No, I'm not going to lie and answer. I like just I'm not going to lie as an answer. It's so off base. Yeah, I'm not going to juggle. Just to say that, right? I'm not going to shave a muskrat.
I'm not doing a backflip either.
Okay, good. That's a shame, actually. But anyway, Kathy Griffin is, if you might remember, there was a comedian that held up a severed head of Trump that was on a magazine cover. Do you remember this? Anybody? Anybody? No? No? Oh, man. You guys love severed heads. She would be your star. But anyhow, Milo, you know who Kathy Griffin is, yeah? Yeah, so she's great. She's a complete lunatic, but incredibly funny and very nice. And I started writing jokes for her for a bunch of award shows that she was doing, like the Billboard Music Awards, American Music Awards, some other shows that we've all forgotten. And she was on this show, which should also be forgotten, called Suddenly Susan, which starred Brooke Shields, but Kathy was like the real comedic element of it. So she was really nice and kind of went to bat for me and said, you should hire this guy. And they did. And so my first writing gig was on the show called Suddenly Susan, which is on NBC. But, and then my boss, hey, thanks for setting us up, a local Seattle literary superstar, Maria Semple, I'll wait for the applause to die out. No, but she wrote Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which she's like from Seattle and wrote this book, which became this giant bestseller. Her partner at the time was this great Simpsons writer, also lives in Seattle currently, named George Meyer, like super hilarious, iconic Simpsons writer. And Maria, who was my boss on Suddenly Susan, told George and this other guy, you should hire this guy Joel. They did, and I've been there twice. Long answer to a long story. Yeah, and you didn't have to lie, that's the best part. Yeah.
Okay.
Kept you honest the whole time. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Tapping out, aren't you? Yeah.
I think it's happening. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Oh, there's a question at the back.
I have one question.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for declaring that. Yeah.
That's it.
This is not customs. Do you have any fruit with soil?
Imagine if I just pulled out like 5 mangoes.
Okay.
Is there anything that was not true in this book that you wrote that you wish was true? And is there anything that is true in this book that you wish wasn't true?
Oh, wow. I would like to answer yes to both with the same thing. There was this guy named Ontario Smith who was a running back for the Vikings. And some of you, if you're a football fan, you may remember this. He got stopped at some airport with a bag of, please hold your applause till the end, dried urine. And then had a thing in his suitcase, which is called the Whizzinator. This is all true, which looks like a prosthetic penis, as many things do. But it looks like a prosthetic penis that you put the dried urine in and water, and then when they're watching you for your drug test, you hold the prosthetic penis with the reconstituted urine in it. You didn't think we'd be talking about urine so much tonight, and squeeze that in, and it's clean, and you pass your drug test. So he got busted at the airport for the Whizzinator. So I wish that was made up, but it wasn't. But then in the book, we go past that to talk about how both Dan and I are shareholders in the Whizzinator Corporation. So we had to declare that. And I wish we were shareholders in the Whizzinator Corporation, but we're not. So anyhow, the Whizzinator. Yeah. And then I was looking it up just for fun, and they still can find Instagram posts for the Whizzinator and remember the Whizzinator. And it's like a KTEL product or something you'd see on like late night TV, like buy the Whizzinator. Wait, don't order yet. We'll throw in 3 other Whizzinators for free, you know, etc. So if anyone needs to pass a drug test, look in the Whizzinator. Yeah. Good times. Yeah, there should be. I like thinking about all the different skin tones they have to make the Whizzinator in, you know what I mean? And like, you know, then people probably want different sizes and things. Like it's a whole shopping experience for the Whizzinator. And now I can't do
I have
that.
a question.
Oh, wait, we're not done with the Whizzinator. All right. You have a question?
So in the book, if there was one football player to actually, that you could talk to, or that he could talk to you about what happened, who would you want to talk to? Like one
Interesting.
one person.
Good question. First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there's a funny part of the book. Dan wrote many funny parts of the book, but one of the funny ones that he wrote was this idea of comparing Tom Brady's diet, who is, as many of you know, like the most regimented, clean diet, and he wouldn't eat like an almond boiled and blanched with this other quarterback that played for the Raiders, and Kenny Stabler, Kenny the Snake Stabler, who was famous for playing hard and partying 10 times harder. So there's a thing in there about how, Tom Brady will only eat a fish as long as the fish is also on the Tom Brady diet. And then Kenny Stabler has a bacon-wrapped cigarette for lunch. So just like funny comparison. So I wish Kenny Stabler sadly has passed away. I don't mean to bring the room down. But anyway, I wish Kenny Stabler was around to look at and comment on this because he seemed like a fun guy anyhow, and he'd have fun with this. One of the items in his diet was a rice pilaf, not to eat, but to pass out in when he's loaded. So I wish he was around to talk to it, but he's not. This one's for you, Kenny. Right?
Sir.
Word out. Yeah. Any other questions in the audience? See if you can guess my birth month. No, nothing.
I was wondering why you never mentioned it really.
Yeah, I'm holding on to that for another book. Big reveal. Second edition. Yeah.
Right, every book to make sure I can see if I can find it there.
All right, good. That's sweet of you. Thank you.
We leave Easter eggs.
Are there Easter eggs? Oh, put Easter eggs in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. How do you put an Easter egg in a book?
You have to dig a hole.
Oh. Well, there is a thing in the book too. Dan, as you know, I know, and as all of you know, he's a big radio host. So this is the first book ever that has someone call into the book. And there's someone calls into the book as well. And Dan gets to interact with them as they call into the book. So that's publishing history.
Hangs up on him also.
Hey, Dan, the guy wants a t-shirt, and Dan is not giving him a t-shirt, yeah. So he hangs that on. It's a little, Dan's pretty rude, I think we can agree. He's not here tonight.
Dan, you're seeing this?
Yeah.
What does the future look for Drew?
Oh boy, bleak.
Bleak?
Yeah, after this, how could it be anything but?
I think he's only up from here.
Really? Well, one of us, hopefully. Well, I guess I'd love to strike to end and go back to work. Would be nice. I'd love the book to be a success. I'd love to do another book about another sport, probably baseball, but I think it'll be the next one. There's already a lot of, I hate basketball, as you know. You hate basketball, am I right?
Yeah, no, I love basketball.
I mean, I love to hate basketball. I love hockey, but no one wants to do a book on hockey. So I think if I did another one, and Dan and I talked about this, if this does well, so pressure's on, I would like to do one about baseball. And then who knows after that. But I really did enjoy working with Dan. I enjoyed writing the book. So if there's any market for it, any audience for it, any love for it, I'd love to do another one about another sport. It will not be basketball. Yeah.
After that one, though, will be basketball, right?
No, I really will do like I'll learn about cricket or like badminton, anything but basketball. I'm gonna make up a sport. Yeah. Slam ball. Remember slam ball?
Slam ball's awesome.
I'll do a slam ball book before I'll do a basketball book.
Oh my
I
god.
know, just to spite you.
This is slam juice.
This is the inscription at the beginning. Screw you, Matt. Joel. Yeah. There you go.
That's tough.
I don't care. Sometimes you have to go. Yeah.
I like this stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay. You better to learn it in a setting like this.
I'm really in it.
See where the regret sinks in. Just some quiet time.
I have a question.
Oh, another question. Oh my God.
I see you two, long future together. So if your next book, what obviously won't be basketball, comes out, would you have Matt in it?
No, I feel like I will not speak to Matt again after this.
What if Matt needs to speak to you again?
My
She's onto something here.
Really?
I think she might be.
I will spend the 2 or 3 minutes after this is over blocking you on all social media, erasing you as a contact,
Okay.
and forgetting I ever mentioned.
I'll find a yellow book.
All right, see what happens. That doesn't end well for us. This is the one and
This
only
is the
appearance.
This is the toxic relationship, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having the nerve to say it, because I wasn't going to say it. I'm too cowardly.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. Is it?
No.
No. All right. Anybody else want to know anything? My social security number?
Last 4 digits.
It's got a 5 in it. Yeah. Credit card. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you guys, everybody. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you guys for coming up.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. What's in the back? Right.